Here's a few quarterbacks I'm going to drop heading into Week 13. The first guy's Teddy Bridgewater of the Carolina Panthers. It was like a feel-good story this year to see Bridgewater come back and make some plays. And Carolina, they fought in a lot of ball games this year, but they lost another tough one in Week 12. And Bridgewater, he's just not getting it done for fantasy owners. And it's time to cut bait with him, especially going to bye versus Minnesota in a plus matchup. He had 267 yards, a touchdown and Into, 2 rushes and 12 yards. And now he's banged up once again, is Teddy Bridgewater. And he's a guy I just can't trust. He's still owned in 40% of leagues, but now going into the bye week, he's a guy I'm looking to cut, so I'll get rid of him. He's the first guy. The second guy is Cam Newton of the New England Patriots. Cam Newton with a horrible ball game yesterday. I thought he would have a decent game, but he only finished the day with 4 fantasy points, 84 passing yards, 2 windows, and 46 yards on the ground for 4 fantasy points. Newton, he's owned in 77% of fantasy leagues. Next week, he's got a good matchup in Week 13 versus the Chargers, but then he's got the Rams, Miami, and Buffalo. And this guy, I say it a lot, his ceiling is 24 points. That's the most he got now since Week 5. So Cam Newton, he's not going to have that huge, big blow-up game you've been expecting, and his MVP days are behind him. And his fantasy value, there isn't much left to it. So Cam Newton, he's a guy I'll steer away from, and I'm dropping. He's still owned in 77% of leagues, but this is the time to cut him loose. Then the third and final guy I'm looking to cut at quarterbacks, Jared Goff of the Los Angeles Rams. Goff, he's up and down, and he's a guy I really can't trust. In a matchup, I thought he would have a huge game. He ended the game with 3 fantasy points. And I'm telling you, most people started him as well with Cam Newton. These guys only getting 3 or 4 fantasy points at a quarterback position is horrible. And he had 198 yards, 2 windows, with 11 rushing and a fumble loss. San Francisco, they've been banged up. I know Richard Sherman came back, but Goff, he still should have had a huge game like he did versus Tampa. And he's up and down, like I said. He's owned in 74% of fantasy leagues, but that number's going to drop. Now, he's got a decent matchup versus Arizona, but is he going to do much? I don't know. So, Goff, I just can't stand inconsistent guys, and he's a quarterback I'm looking to drop. So, that's a few quarterbacks I'm looking to drop heading into Week 13.